it is very, very funny that after, I guess I knew him for over 60 years, but we never got into those type of conversations. But nevertheless, um, Marv started out uh, in NYU wanting to be a dentist. Now, I don't think he really wanted to be a dentist, but every Jewish kid was either a dentist, doctor, or a lawyer. So somehow somehow or other, he turned to psychology. He felt that he wanted to do something that would do good, and he felt that that was an avenue and a mechanism for doing it. I think he was supported by his parents, but they insisted he go to an Ivy League school, so he wound up at Cornell. And he finished his degree, so he wound up at Penn and completed his PhD in clinical psychology at Penn. And that's where the nexus begins, because he and I came in during the same year in September of 1956. And also at that time, Marv Kibitz was at Penn about 2 to 3 years ahead of us. He was in the process of getting his degree. And when Marv, of course, Marv got to know Kibitz in the department, we were all very, very close. And when Marv got his degree, when Marv Rosen got his degree, Kibitz hired him to be, I guess, I don't know what his exact title was, but to come and become a clinical practitioner at Ellen. As you know, he stayed there for all of his professional career, eventually becoming VP and supporting Marv in his activities at Ellen, Marv Kibitz at Ellen. So that's how he got where he did with respect to disabilities. It's on the Penn campus. It was a small section. Marv had the desk across the way from me. They packed us in that place like sardines. So there were about 6 desks in this small area. I got to know Marv that way, just across the desk. And there were a couple of Jewish guys there, but we sort of gravitated together for obvious reasons. One, that we had the New York experience and we were Jewish. It was very easy to bridge the gap. So that's how I got to know Mark well. And we of course we shared this very, very difficult experience of graduate school. And Marv eventually became my roommate. And when that happened, we became very, very close. We shared a lot of personal experiences, as well as many, many events and parties, and God knows what went on in that apartment. And when it was all over, when eventually Marv moved out when he got married. We got married during graduate school. But Marv and I both were assistants in Psych 1. We used to teach the laboratory part of Psychology 1. Marv, very focused, very, very focused guy. We had to prepare our lectures and our lab materials every week. And I would, much in admiration of Marv, who would sit there for 4 to 6 hours at a time, not moving off the desk and doing all of his work. Well, I couldn't do that on a bed. I had shpilkas. But I was really admiring of his ability to do that. And this is the way he succeeded later in life. He was very, very focused guy. Well, there's a good reason for that, because Marv spent all of his life uh, practicing that type of excellence. It's partly as his discipline, partly his focus, and partly his wanting to do good and in dealing with people. And at Penn, you could not become a clinician unless you were very well grounded in research and scientific methodology. Everything was based on the facts developed through science and applied to practice. And that suffused our training and suffused Marv's life throughout, because that's what he did when he went to Elwyn. And this, of course, was the support of Marv Kivitz, because Marv Kivitz came out of the same, had the same foundation of training. So it was a mutual support society at that point. When Marv moved over to Elwyn, he immediately started a research activity there, started transitioning the people into understanding how to use research methodologies and how to improve practice through a scientific approach. And that he did not only at Elwyn, but in every other job area that he became involved in. Yeah, and Marv also felt very strongly about training, and when he was at Elwyn, he began very shortly on insisting for in-service training for the staff, not only the people, the psych interns that he was mentoring, but also for the lower level staff. He was very taken with the fact that the lower level staff didn't have any training at that point. They were just willy-nilly. He insisted that was not the way to develop good practice, and he eventually developed a number of programs for the lower level staff who were in direct contact with the clients, and was very successful in doing that. An approach to practice. I wasn't involved in that because I'm not a clinician, but Marv was. He was a clinician, and at Penn you could not become a clinician unless you were very well grounded in research and scientific methodology. Everything was based on the facts developed through science and applied to practice. And that suffused our training and suffused Marv's life throughout, because that's what he did when he went to Elwyn. And this, of course, was the support of Marv Kivitz, because Marv Kivitz came out of the same, had the same foundation of training. So it was a mutual support society at that point. When Marv moved over to Elwyn, he immediately started a research activity there, started transitioning the people into understanding how to use research methodologies and how to improve practice through a scientific approach. And that he did not only at Elwyn, but in every other job area that he became involved in. Yeah, and Marv also felt very strongly about training, and when he was at Elwyn, he began very shortly on insisting for in-service training for the staff, not only the people, the psych interns that he was mentoring, but also for the lower level staff. He was very taken with the fact that the lower level staff didn't have any training at that point. They were just willy-nilly. He insisted that was not the way to develop good practice, and he eventually developed a number of programs for the lower level staff who were in direct contact with the clients, and was very successful in doing that. he was a good vet. The let me see. Characterize Marv. Marv was, in sum, if I had to summarize Marv, he was an educator, a counselor, a psychologist, a historian, a writer, a teacher, a lover of the word, and a lover of the land, because he bought land on his own in the mountains and enjoyed being there, enjoyed puttering around, planting trees, etc., etc. And he was somebody that expressly said what he wanted to do was do good, and he did. He did a lot of good. By the way, Marv was a prolific writer. He wrote over 30 books in his lifetime. Yeah, his books are all novels, family histories, and self-help manuals. When he got involved with Marple Newtown High School, he was hired there as a tester to test students, do psychological testing with students. He saw that also the tremendous deficiency in the staff, and he started writing and developed manuals for teenagers on various issues related to teenage, what do you call it, Sturm und Drang, if you will. He had quite a library when he got, right, before he no longer could do it. If I had to sum something up, I said he sought to bring a state-of-art methodology to improve service and service providers at all levels. And he spent a great part of his life doing so. That was his life. I admired his dedication in doing so. So as a lifetime friend and a colleague of 69 years, we went back a long time, I was and I'm glad to be able to provide the funds to enable IE to continue the training of our staff so that they can deliver state-of-the-art services to our community. And that is through the Marvin Rosen Fund, and I believe it expresses the service, the spirit, and philosophy of Marv and Marv's life's work.